And speaking of the culture wars, Steven Spielberg came out recently and admitted a big mistake. And I actually found this very interesting because we're talking about how like people are rewriting history via like movies and stuff like that. And Steven Spielberg, when he was talking about re-editing ET to take out all the guns and stuff and replace them with walkie-talkies, which was kind of the beginning of this political correctness SJW movement in Hollywood. He basically came out in an interview and said, "That was a mistake. I never should have done that. ET is a product of its era. No film should be revised based on the lenses we are now, either voluntary or being forced through peer review. E.T. was a film that I was sensitive to the facts that the federal agents were approaching kids with firearms exposed, and I thought I would change the guns into walkie-talkies. Years went by, and I changed my own views. I should have never messed with the archives of my own work, and I don't recommend anyone doing that." And I think that was actually like a really important thing that Spielberg said, because Spielberg, he's one of the most legendary living directors right now. He's made huge impacts on pop culture. And I can remember when the new editions of E.T. came out, and both George Lucas and Steven Spielberg were out there. It's like, yeah, we got to replace the guns with walkie-talkies, and we got to make it, family friendly or like whatever. And South Park even did like, a parody on this type of thing. That was the beginning of, I think, all this stuff in Hollywood, where they were like, oh, we can get political. We can actually change old movies, add warnings to them, all this other stuff. To basically reflect our current views. And it has just snowballed out of control since then. And to hear Spielberg come out against that type of thing is actually kind of interesting. So, Mr. Reagan, I wanted to get your take on this. What do you think of Hollywood's revisionist history thing and Spielberg coming out against it and saying like, hey, let movies be a product of their time. Don't change stuff.
Yeah, I mean, leftists love to look back in history and go, all these people were evil and we're perfect, right? I call it generational bigotry. In this particular case, this is a kind of a weird one because Spielberg changed something that's so unbelievably subtle. I'm surprised anyone caught it. I mean, you definitely, obviously, have like these really hardcore fans of just about everything, and somebody's going to catch just about every little change that you make. He should have learned that lesson with Han Shot First. Han Shot First was a much more egregious offense, I think, which had nothing. I mean, that was a really weird thing. So for Spielberg to go, okay, well, there's this little subtle thing that we can change, and it'll be fine because I don't understand why you would do that, because they're kind of like the bad guys in a way, right? In the movie, even though they're not necessarily evil or anything, but they are the physical strength villain, if you will. Like they have guns, they're intimidating, they have more power than E.T. and Elliot and everybody. So, you giving him those guns just gives them more power. I don't understand. Like, he thinks people looking at guns is going to make them go buy guns or shoot up a school or something. I don't know really why you would make that change. It seems like a lot of money to make a change that wouldn't make really much of a difference in the film, but I'm glad that he did come to the realization, like, yeah, this was a terrible mistake. But I think the reason he probably came to that realization is there was some backlash. And people were like, why the hell did you do that? That makes the movie worse. We want to see the movie in its original form. Why would you do that? And he probably didn't think anyone was going to notice. That's why I think he did it.
Well, Desparu, I feel like Spielberg changing the guns to walkie-talkies was a precursor to all this stuff where basically Hollywood studios are rewriting history. Like, you have this thing with Cleopatra where like she was like a black woman. You had Anne Boleyn being turned into a black woman. And it's basically like Hollywood is saying like, no, history wasn't history. Like we need to be more inclusive with history. So like, I feel like Spielberg was the one who started all that in motion. And now he's like, oh, it's gone too far.
I'm not sure whether it actually started with one person or whether it's like a greater issue with sort of how we've moved forward, especially with the internet. Like, if you go back before the internet, information and everything was limited because books were expensive. You need to get through publishers. There was kind of gatekeepers. So you had a certain set of ideas. Now, everybody's saying everything all the time to everybody, and we kind of got information overload. But it seems to have, especially in Hollywood, where everything's so egocentric, led to people focus on themselves and what they want more than the ideas. Before, philosophers were talking about greater ideas and concepts, whereas now, he said it himself, how we have to look through this lens. Well, what lens? Whose lens? It's like, when you talk about lenses, you're talking about viewing things from the position of one individual. And that's what it is. So you come from the position of not there are guns, which on its own is it's value-free kind of thing. You could explore ideas. You could have, is it right in this situation? But if you're looking at it through somebody's lens, well, now they have a personal position. Are guns good or bad? If they're bad, we can't show them in anything. And you lose any kind of greater complexity when it comes to the ideas. And so I hate all of it. It's the same with Cleopatra. It didn't matter what history was, because history is sort of the factual reality, which is outside of a person, but she was looking through her lens. I am this person in America. This is my position. And so it was important to her that she saw herself on the screen, because I genuinely think a lot of people can't even understand concepts at this point. All they see is their own position in themselves, and that's how they think. And so if you're not on the screen, you can't associate with that person, because rather than like, what does it mean to be a hero? What does it mean to be a sacrifice? It's the difference between being a dad and a father. A dad is a thing, whereas being a father has duties and requirements which are greater than that. And I don't think Hollywood even understands that anymore. That's why you don't get heroes. I don't think it's because they hate heroes. I think it's because they don't even know what a hero is meant to be.
Yeah, Matt Vader. So a lot of these movies, like we talk about, you and I, we watch a lot of movies for the Salty Nerd podcast, and there are times where we're watching movies and they use like un-PC language or something like that, and we're like, this movie could never be made nowadays. And it gets to the point where you have Disney, like, they won't show Gone with the Wind because it's too problematic, So everyone's looking at older movies through like the lens of modern day wokeness, as opposed to just taking them for what they were, which was a product of their era. Like, what do you think about this phenomenon? Because like we watch stuff all the time. We're just like, oh, that could never be made today. Like Tropic Thunder, for instance.
It's a very, very sad state of affairs that we find ourselves in with all this stuff. Bottom line is people are too sensitive. People don't have a sense of humor anymore. People get offended way too easily about the silliest of things.
Yeah, if I even mention dicks, Matt Vader just turns off his camera.
Well, he gets turned on, so it's like,
that was going on. Okay, I didn't realize.
Sometimes I'm like, man, that guy's got a really good dick that he's, doing that stuff within that movie that I'm watching. You get a little jealous, right? I'm like, but no, I shouldn't have said that. That's terrible.
Someone clip that, please.
No, somebody's going to clip the hell out of that. What am I doing?
Hey guys, if you could do me a quick favor, if you like this episode and it tickles your fancy, or any other episode that we've done in the past, share it on social media and tag us in that post so that we know you're talking about us, and we will immediately jump onto that app and we will respond to your tag. And we can talk about what you like about the episode and possibly talk about something that we might want to cover in the future. And we would love to bring you in our community. We have a wonderful Discord app as well. There's a bunch of people in there that just love chatting with us. And we'd love to hear from you. So if you like this podcast, tag us in that post and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you guys so much. Back to the podcast.
But yeah,
Let's go into
people
Discord.
people don't have a sense of humor anymore about anything. Like what I just said. I don't care if people clip it, but it's just because I have a sense of humor. And, it's like the chat saying, they could never make Blazing Saddles now. They couldn't do it because there would be people outside the studio with signs and marching up and down, not letting people into the lot. It would be crazy. Mel Brooks used to be that guy who could push that limit. I haven't watched the new History of the World. Is it any good? The one that's on Netflix?
Nope.
Do they push those limits at all?
No, they don't push any
Chappelle should remake Blazing Saddles. Chappelle could do it.
I do think that there is a movement that is starting out there, and I think there's guys out there like Joe Rogan and Tom Segura, Bert Kreischer, a lot of these comedians that are like kind of like making Austin their home base. That there's the one podcast, Kill Tony. If you ever watch Kill Tony, there is some offensive shit on that podcast. It's amazing. And It's out there. You have to find it, but it's out there. And I think these people that understand free speech and understand comedy and understand what normal people enjoy, they're trying to bring it back in a sense. I'm really looking forward to the Machine movie with Kreischer. With it's got Mark Hamill, Bert Kreischer, and some other people in it. It comes out, I think, at the end of next month. He stated, on his podcast where he said, "I'm going to bring comedy back. We're starting to do this," and I think it's important. I think people need to be offended. I think it
Yes.
it makes people think. You know what I'm saying?
It's
and
for years they offended Christians, and it became
Yeah.
so common that it became boring. It was like,
just-
yeah, we get it. You want to offend Christians.
You know,
Offend a few other people from time to time.
Right. There was a time where, late night television was good. And you know why it was good? Because Johnny Carson or Jay Leno or David Letterman, they poked everybody for the most part equally. You know what I mean? Nowadays, it's just terrible skits and they're just poking
There's this guy
at
in
the
England
right.
called Jimmy Carr, and he's like, basically, Disparo knows who I'm talking about. This guy he is unbelievably brutal. He talks a lot about pedophilia, but it's funny.
Well, it's because he got grandfathered in. He would never be able to get where he
Yes,
was
you're
now
right.
because he would never be allowed to. But he's been
Right.
around for so many years, and we had there's a load of comedians that used to be incredibly funny 12, 15 years ago, and we've got the same ones on TV. They're not any good. They're not funny anymore.
Could
They
Benny Hill
toned it
exist now? Could Benny Hill exist now? Would he be able to be
If
on
he
TV?
was black and gay, maybe.
Monty Python, would they be able to do
Yeah.
what they did?
You know who's pretty good, actually? Our friend Chrissy Mayer. I went to go see her show out in Vegas, and she's flipping funny, man. She asked one of the guys in the audience, "What do you do?" And he's like, "I'm an engineer." He's like, "Is anybody in your office a woman?" And he's like, "Yeah, actually about 50%." And she just stares at him. She's like, "But none of them are any good, right?" and it was great. And everybody's just dying laughing. It was a beautiful moment,
I want to go to Brian real quick because he had a great rant on his stream the other day about The Woman King, starring Viola Davis, and how this was a movie about one of the most notorious slave traders in Africa, but they whitewashed the history, no pun intended, to make her seem like a noble, female leader. So Brian, what's your take on Spielberg's thing about like looking at history through the modern lenses and how we shouldn't change movies or history in order to kind of have them conform to our modern sensibilities?
Yeah, that's a pretty good take. I'm surprised he had that take. The thing about, and see, I guess The Woman King is like the ultimate reaction to that, right? We need to filter history through our modern lens. Well, it went way too far because no one wants to criticize a minority woman, right? So let's completely change history. Let's make it like ultimate revisionist and make them the superhero, make them the good guy. And the thing is, this is not like some this is not a piece of history that no one knows about. Only the most academic of academics know about. This is like if you went to college for like a year and you took introduction to worldwide events or whatever, you would have gotten this. And the thing is, there are so many people that have already explained how the slave trade and these tribe in Africa that a large portion of people know about this. So when that first trailer hit for The Woman King, the first reaction was, "What? How is this a thing?" And every YouTube video and every review I saw had to bring this up. And what happened? The movie didn't make any money because it doesn't work. Filtering your modern sensibilities and changing past movies or even past history in that sense is just a bad idea because it's only going to make the product either wrong, like have a really bad taste in your mouth, or not work, or vanilla. And eventually the studios are going to lose so much money they have to stop. They have to reel it in. I don't know if that's going to work because people are still, you're still subscribing to the streaming services whether you like the movies or not. So I'm not sure how that's going to play in. But at some point, this is going to have to change, right? Like the filters are going to have to be removed at some point, and artists and creatives are going to be should be able to create whatever they want to create, and let the free market speak to whether or not it's good and acceptable.
All right, real quick, want to wrap this up with a super chat from WG for $50. Great show, gents. Here's a small donation towards the Fridge Fund. Bader, you want to explain what the Fridge Fund is?
The Fridge Fund?
Yes.
Well, the fridge is empty and we need to refill it. It was all full of Red Bulls and water and all kinds of stuff. And over this past week, it got destroyed. It's empty right now, so it needs to be refilled.
2 Coke Zeros and 1 Diet Dr. Pepper. So it's
there are some weird like vegan keto kale juice drinks on the top shelf that nobody touched. And so I think Alex brought those in, and we're going to make him drink them. So
yeah, we are.
There you go.
They do have a real fridge. I can attest. They have a real fridge with real drinks. So
I think I want to fill it up with 40 ounces of Old English, just Snoop Dogg style, and we'll just sit in there and get trashed one day. That'd be super fun.
Hey guys, if you like this podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and comment below on your favorite video as well. That goes a long way with helping us boost our channel and get out there in front of more people. And it lets YouTube know that we're doing something right. And if you want to catch us live, we go live 2 times a week, once on Saturdays at 10 a.m. Pacific time and on Tuesdays at 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. So join us there in the chat. We will see you on the live stream. Stay salty.